Nothing Worthwhile, the recognized symbol of excellence in crappy podcasting.
Hi, I'm Evan Moody.
I'm Andrew Gruthius.
You're listening to Nothing Worthwhile
with Moody and Groo.
Live from Television City in Burbank, California, it is the Nothing Worthwhile End of Summer Spectacular with your hosts, Evan Moody and Andrew Gruthius, with special guests, Dom DeLuise, Nipsey Russell, Charo, and Uri Geller, with special musical guests, Gordon Lightfoot and Yusuf Islam. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Moody and Groo. Looking at me, looking at you. It's like a long lost love.
It has been a long time.
You look like Tom Hanks from Castaway. It's like you've lost a ton of weight. Your hair is like peroxide, sun stained hair.
And I'm talking to a volleyball.
Well, hey, I've talked to a lot worse.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Over 2 months. The fans were demanding it.
They definitely were. No, they were. They actually were. They actually were.
It was really just
all
two or
three
two or three Jews in a Jewish deli.
Hey, that's fans. That's plural. So they were demanding. I got some requests.
Well, it's been over 2 months. We are back live via Zoom. We call ourselves America's #1 bi-coastal podcast featuring two annoying Jews on the West Coast. Annoying Jew number 1. My name is Evan Moody, your host and moderator. On the East Coast, annoying Jew number 2. Please state your name and your occupation and everything else.
Andrew Gruthius. I am a professional bum, and I am enjoying every minute of it. I am on the East Coast in Florida, the new epicenter for everything that's bad in the entire universe, and proud of it. Of course, it all doesn't go to shit until I move here. So, yes, I am on the East Coast, bracing for hurricane after hurricane.
Oh, well, I was just going to ask you how the hell you're doing.
I have no idea.
Are you guys supposed to be getting something? I didn't even know that.
You know how it is. It's like an STD. It's like if it's not this, there's going to be something behind it, and then there's something behind that. It's always something. So we managed to skip the French guy, Henri, whatever his name was, but there are always a couple. This is the season that
even storms are diverse now. It's like Henri.
I was actually thinking about this the other day, like when they were talking. I'm like, you got to make these people are not going to take these storms seriously when you give them like these names like Henri. Ooh, who's scared of Henri? No, like. I want like Hurricane Blade or something like. Would
you take it more seriously? Yeah, like if it was Hurricane Ed.
Yeah, like Tropical Storm Psycho or something. Like something. The Terminator. Like give me this Tropical Storm Rambo. Give me something that's going to tell us exactly what this thing's going to do.
So what happens? They predict doom and gloom. There's always a rush, like on groceries, Home Depot, and then a lot of times you don't get much.
Exactly.
I'm hoping you guys don't get much.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, it's always good to be over prepared, but when just like and actually, I've been exaggerating. We haven't really heard much down here other than that original one, but The optimist in me sees many more coming our way.
The optimist in you. So you're back with a new optimistic attitude, bright look for the future.
Positivity.
I mean, positivity. There we go.
It's 1 o'clock. It's 1:30 in the afternoon, and all the lights are off, and I'm in this darkness of. It's a beautiful day out, and I'm just inside, soaking in the air conditioning in this darkness. So all is well then.
give our faithful listeners an update. We were off for over 2 months, unlike we'll talk about Howard Stern and his summer vacation. But we got a summer vacation. Give everybody an update. What was going on over your summer, and any other news, notes, and tidbits before we move on?
Not much news. It was a regular summer for me. Thank God we got back to summer camps were up and running. So I went to my wonderful summer camp, Wayne, in Preston Park, Pennsylvania, that you are very familiar with, obviously. And had a great couple of months. Had a really spectacular summer.
Great
with a great bunch of people. Just very memorable. Did a lot of great things. COVID notwithstanding, we had no cases because we were very vigilant as far as the protocols, but we all still had an incredible time. And literally, I just got back. I got back 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And I've already been back at work for 2 weeks, so it's been like no rest for the weary. But yeah, it was an excellent summer, without a doubt.
Give everybody an update on your apartment when you first walked in after 8 weeks plus gone.
Well, no,
Moss, dust.
They actually did some experimentation a couple days later and found that the cure for cancer lived in the shower, in my guest shower, not in my main shower. So they definitely came in with the with those little testing things. So no, the apartment was exactly as I left it, which isn't saying much. But look, the single life. What are you going to do?
Well, I give a lot of credit to your guest shower for my good health. I have showered in there many times, and I'm hoping through osmosis I've keep my health going.
And how was your summer?
That's great. Let's see. How was my summer? We took our summer vacation. We went to Newport Beach, California, and
been there. Lovely.
A highlight was probably July 4th on the beach, where my lovely girlfriend Marie had to be on the beach, had to see the fireworks on July 4th. So we took the little ferry across the little pond to the beach area, and we were there at 7:30 in the morning. It was somehow New York's Times Square. So we got out to the beach. It was only a handful of people, and we put our blanket and our stuff down. And I promptly, what do? You lay out, you take a nap, you get up, you go for lunch, you dip your foot in the ocean, and you go back, lay out. I got burnt so bad. I literally got second degree. And she sprayed me down. I had blisters, and I got all sorts of effed up because trying to be a team player. I was like, well, my girlfriend wants to be out on. Sorry, my girlfriend wants to be on Newport Beach for July 4th fireworks. You know me, I could have been home, watching Dick Clark's whatever Ryan Seacrest's July 4th. But anyway, I enjoyed Newport Beach. We had a lovely 5 days. The hotel was great. We ate in some very high-priced, overpriced restaurants, but the food was wonderful.
That's what it's supposed to be. It's funny you mentioned. It's funny you mentioned the beach though, because we spent our last 4 days of our summer. I take care of the oldest kids. So because of COVID, they didn't send the usual trips out this summer, but they sent us for the last 4 days to Ocean City, Maryland.
Great.
We went to Ocean City, but we left from there. We did not go back to camp as per usual. And that was the plan. But I spent more. I went with this incredible group of kids, probably the best I've ever had. They were just we had an amazing time, all of us together. But I probably spent more time on the beach in these 4 days than I have combined in my 9 years in Florida. And I'm not even joking about that. I don't know what it is.
It's funny. It's funny you say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, Marie's best friend, they went to Ocean City, Maryland for their summer vacation, and we thought about it because I had many great memories from camp in Ocean City. I always loved the vibe there.
In fact, the picture on our episode page today is that famous picture of you and I on our way down to Ocean City.
Yeah, that's just classic. Andy's referring to our bus broke down, and we went outside, and literally there was like a belt hanging off the motor. And back in the day, I was in my 20s, confident, had the shirt off. Andy, we were joking around, like, just great times. But it's funny you mentioned that about the beach, because I went to Broward County, where I went to school, my master's degree, which was CW Post. They had Broward County was there, teach at the beach, and I sort of envisioned myself. I'd teach during the day, and then I'd get in my little VW buggy, and I'd go down to the beach in the evening with my hacky sack and my Corona. I never went one time to the beach. I'd have some Grateful Dead playing in the background and have a cool Corona with a lime, and just like you go to work, you get busy. No, I'm saying I didn't go to the beach much.
Right?
Either when I lived in
and
Florida.
like teaching, they always say, you get done early and you go hang out. No, you go home, you fall right asleep. That's what happens.
It's like
you're like, hey, it's 2:45. I'm out of here. Yeah, maybe I'll go out for a drink, or I'll go to the beach. I'll just stop at home first. Then that AC hits you, and all of a sudden you're on the couch watching Ghostbusters 2, like just out of it. It's the same thing over and over again.
Marie got Apple TV. She got the streaming, and so we were watching C. It's this Jason Momoa. It's an interesting television show. It's about the future again, like a pandemic. Society breaks down, and everyone's blind. So you have these tribes of blind people.
It's a comedy,
and it's almost like Game of Thrones, and they're controlling. But anyway, we're watching, and then of course, I pass out on the couch.
Right.
And then she gets upset, come on, we were supposed to watch the show together. I'm like, can't help it. I don't know. I passed out. It's been a long week. I don't know.
That's what it is.
But actually, Dave Bautista is supposed to be in season 2. He's like the big.
Forget it then.
So anyway, all right. Well, great catching up. It's been over 2 months. Groo, before we get to our end of summer spectacular, we're going to bring back our most popular segment. It's 5 things we are talking about this week. Cue it up, Groo. It's nothing worthwhile. The week that was.
Nothing worthwhile. The week that was.
Hey guys and hey girls, the week that was is brought to you by, our great sponsor, New You Life Center. Begin a new you. Check out all of their medical weight loss programs at www.newulifecenters.com. That's NUYOULifecenters.com, or give them a call at 602-274-0068. Tell them that Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. Thank you, New You. That's the David Letterman, Howard Stern paper bubble.
Yeah.
All right. Groo, let's get to it. It's been a while. Yes, I'm excited. Groo, on last Monday, researchers released a nutritional index this week aiming to inform guidelines and help Americans achieve a healthier and more environmentally stable diet. The index ranks food by minutes gained or lost, healthy life per serving, with processed meats and sugary drinks among the biggest offenders. Findings included over 5,000 foods in the U.S. diet classified by health burden and environmental impacts. The food study ranged from 70 minutes lost to 80 minutes gained per serving. Groo, sugary drinks, hot dogs, burgers, and breakfast sandwiches were linked to the most minutes of healthy life lost, whereas fruits, non-starchy and mixed vegetables, ready-to-eat cereals, and cooked grains were associated with the largest gains. More specifically, researchers found that consuming one 85-gram serving of chicken wings translated to 3.3 minutes of life lost, owing it to sodium and harmful trans fatty acids. While Groo, a beef hot dog on a bun resulted in some 36 minutes lost, largely due to the detrimental effect of processed meats. Groo, thoughts on this minutes gained and lost dietary study? And my God, are you and I going to die tomorrow?
What about a crackle? what about the crackle I just had? Is that on the list?
Well, I think a crackle might be 5.8 minutes lost.
Yeah. Well, if a hot dog cost you 35 minutes, I died 4 years ago. So I mean, I don't know what. Look, every day they're coming out with a study. Don't drink this. Don't eat this. Definitely eat this, but don't eat that. Like, I think everybody's body is just different. Obviously, the better you treat it, the more healthy it's going to be in the long run. But then, you know what? I see people who are the picture of health getting so sick and terrible things happening. I just have to think that, you know what? Everybody does what they do, and we roll the dice. I mean, you know, there seems to be no explanation for a guy who never touches a cigarette in his whole life getting lung cancer at 50. You know, like
funny you mention that. It's funny you mention that because I always think about Dana Reeves, and she was on Howard back in the day when Howard was Howard, and you know, obviously her husband had this terrible accident in like the last 10 years of her life. Right. His life was just really horrific, and then he finally passes, and you're sad, but you're relieved for her that somehow this burden, I don't know if burden's the right word, but this weight is off her shoulders and she can maybe begin living her life again. And then like 2 years later, she dies of lung cancer and never touched a cigarette. And I remember as a listener feeling so sad, like,
Me
wow,
too.
this lady did it, quote unquote, right. And she's gone.
That's my point. That's why all of these studies, they say this, they say that. And I just think body chemistry, genetics is, I mean, when I was in medical school, that's what they taught us. But so I only lasted 7 minutes in that school. But
well, listen, just like everybody else, I know. Well, maybe I know you. Sometimes we vacillate with our diets. Where's Andy Groo at? You're a couple of years younger than me, but we're no spring chickens. What's your diet like these days? Are you trying to eat healthy? You don't care?
I try. I wouldn't say I try to eat healthy. I try not to eat really bad stuff. So I eat normal, and that doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. You know what? It's weird because it doesn't help with the weight, but it helps with the blood work.
Do you feel better a little bit or a little more peppy if you kind of try not to eat bad, so to speak?
Food doesn't really seem to make the difference. Activity does. No, I'm serious. Activity does. When I'm busy, when I'm physically active, I feel more like on the weekends, I feel like I just feel like doing nothing and I do nothing and I feel that way. Like it's hard to just but during the week when I'm working, when I'm up and when I'm doing my thing, like I have a lot more energy. So, that's I think that's what it is for me. I just have to figure out, because I can't seem I can't say I've been trying to lose weight for such a long time, but I haven't been not trying.
I've known you for, God, we're approaching probably 40 years, and I know there are times where you'll be like, I'm going to the gym, or I have a trainer, or I know that I'm really trying to lock in on my diet, eating lean fish, sushi, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, nothing ever worked. So I said, I always said, why am I killing myself? And
I'm 50, and I definitely you'll like this story. David Rodolitz sent me a picture, from maybe 20 years ago. I was probably in my late 20s,
right?
And I was like, oh my, I actually was kind of ripped, and and I look at it now at 50, and I definitely don't get the results, but I still go through the grind most days because I feel better than if I don't. And I've come to, similar to you, I'm a little older, 4 or 5 years older, but it's at 50, it is what it is, and I may have a little pot belly now, and but I'm still going to try to stay active and try to eat healthy and keep. I don't know. So, because I do feel better.
We do want to hang around on this terrible world longer. Where nothing but wonderful things happen. But look, we just. For me, it's just day by day. For instance, last night. All right, I was doing the football game, and I usually because I start at 5 o'clock, and we don't get done till 9:30, so I'm gonna have a late dinner.
Okay.
So usually I'll spend the whole time looking forward to I can't wait to just stop and get my favorite chicken parm hero and French fries and all that crap, on a Friday night. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go home and I'm going to eat the leftover sushi that I have from the night before. That's what I'm going to do last night. And so I did that. And I didn't feel better. I didn't feel better today, but I still look back and I say, you know what? Maybe if I did that more often and just, sucked it up a little bit and stopped looking for any excuse to eat unhealthy, maybe that'll make the difference. So we'll see.
I'm looking at the study right now on my phone, and because you ate the sushi, you gained 4 minutes and 31 seconds on your life.
Plus,
good move.
Plus mercury poison.
Good move. Well, that is true. Well, Andy did talk about the sad state of affairs that's going on in our world, and grew sad news on Tuesday as Charlie Watts, the long-standing Rolling Stones drummer who helped anchor one of the great rock's greatest rhythm sections, died. He was reportedly 80 years old. Publicist Bernard Doherty said Tuesday that Watts passed away peacefully in a London hospital earlier today, surrounded by his family. Watts had announced that he would not tour with the Rolling Stones in 2021. My God, they're still touring because of an undefined health issue. Charlie Watts joined the Rolling Stones in 1963 and remained there for nearly 60 years, ranking just behind Mick Jagger and Keith Richards as the group's longest-standing member. Groo, thoughts on the passing of Charlie Watts, and give us a mini take. We never really talked much about the Rolling Stones, so give me some thoughts on the passing of Charlie Watts and where you're at with the Rolling Stones as a rock fan.
Well, the Rolling Stones are always one of the four pillars of rock. I think it's like the Beatles, Rolling Stones, maybe the Who, and maybe U2. Maybe like those are like they kind of
not like a Led Zeppelin.
Maybe I don't. I feel like Led Zeppelin might not have had maybe, but
okay.
The Rolling Stones are definitely on that Mount Rushmore of rock and roll groups. They like you said, they're still going. It's funny because I remember in like 1989 when they were doing the Steel Wheels tour. They were old then. They were old then.
Yes.
Like
that
they made fun.
That was a big comeback.
Yeah, they made fun of Keith Richards then, thinking that he was going to like keel over at any second. Charlie Watts, yes, I mean, like very understated drummer, but that sound is unmistakable. On all of the records, you could tell it's him. He just had this, like you said, he was the perfect like backing rhythm section. I thought he was an original member. So who was the drummer before him in those early couple of years?
I don't know. Stu Boynstein. I don't know. I mean, my thing is, the reason why I wanted to ask you is, myself included, I'm a fan, but I'm not a mega fan of the Rolling Stones. I'm a fan. So I was wondering, when I asked you about your take on the Stones, because I mean, I like, for example, they came maybe 2 years ago to Phoenix. Tickets were just astronomical, and I said, no, just not going to spend to bring myself and my girlfriend and drop $800 on the Rolling Stones. Would I do that perhaps for Bruce or Billy? Perhaps not. But I'm a fan of the Stones. I've only seen them once live, and that was the Steel Wheels tour.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with your take on the pillar. And I do like the Stones, but no, I'm not a mega fan.
Yeah, I'm the same.
For every little.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I saw them twice. I don't go back as far as you do. I think I saw them. I think both on the same tour. I think it was that Bridges to Babylon tour. And it was great. I mean, it was great. It wasn't something that blew me away. Their music has never blown me away. But I know it's good. They're one of those bands that I know they're great. I can name maybe 5 or 6 albums, maybe 20 songs. But you give me a ticket, I'm going to go because I know you're going to get something great. Mick Jagger is one of the greatest frontmen of all time, an unmistakable voice.
Agreed.
Keith Richards. It's interesting. I don't know why I'm not more of a fan. That's interesting.
Well,
right
For me, I always found, for example, contemporary bands, like I was more of a fan of The Who. I was more of a fan of Pink Floyd. I don't know if Pink Floyd's contemporary in terms of time. I don't know about sound. But, for example, I was always a bigger Who fan. I thought they were just a more meatier sound. I don't know.
Yeah,
Whatever
maybe it's just like the Rolling Stones. It's nothing too deep. It's just great rock and roll. like AC/DC in a way. AC/DC doesn't try to hit you over the head with social whatever like message or something. It's just good hard rock and roll. And I think the Stones are in that realm. They got a couple that sort of tread a little bit. Did you hear? I know we're getting off Charlie Watts a little bit, but have you heard that Mick Jagger song that he did with Dave Grohl, like a couple of months ago?
I have not. I did hear the Stones did a new song like maybe a year ago. It was like something COVID related, like everything was like empty. I forget the Ghost Town or something like that. But no, I didn't hear
this one's called this one's called Easy Sleazy. It's like the Sex Pistols come back to life. It's like only for some reason it's only available on YouTube, but YouTube it, check it out. I think you'd like it. It's Mick Jagger singing and Grohl and his band backing him up. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, back to the Stones and Charlie Watts. Rest in peace, definitely. I knew that he wasn't going to be touring with them this time, like you said. He was sick with something, obviously something a little more serious than they let on. But look, a life well lived, and party up in heaven.
Yes, thank you, happy man. Groo, speaking of easy sleazy, stunning reversal on Wednesday for us smut fans as OnlyFans said it has suspended plans to ban pornography. In a stunning U-turn, this came after a fierce backlash from its users. Andy Gruthius. A spokesperson for the online subscription platform told CNBC that the proposed changes were no longer required due to the banking partners' assurances that OnlyFans can support all genres of creators.
Yes.
The London-based firm last week announced plans to prohibit porn starting October 1st, citing pressure from its banking partners. Thank you to everyone for making our voices heard, OnlyFans said in a tweet on Tuesday. We have secured assurances necessary to support our diverse creator community. Oh, Lord, diverse creator community. And we have suspended the planned October 1st policy changes. Groo, OnlyFans' decision to block sexually explicit posts drew swift condemnation from sex workers, from their fans. The site lets adult performers sell NSFW, not safe for work content, for subscription fees. Founded in 2016, OnlyFans has become a social media powerhouse, Groo, thanks to its looser approach to overtly sexual material. Has over 130 million users, 2 million content creators, and a reported 150 million in cash from last year. Groo, even celebrities such as Cardi B and Bella Thorne have even joined as creators. Still, porn is by far the most popular category on the site. OnlyFans founder and CEO Tim Stokely said in an interview with the Financial Times this week, Stokely, that the firm was, come on, that's got to be a made-up name, was forced to ban such content after unfair treatment from the banks. Okay, so that's a serious point. There has been speculation that some other factors were at play. An Axios report said last week that the company was struggling to find external investment due to concerns with its hosting of adult content. Groo, you and I like our smut dirty. Thoughts on this OnlyFans back and forth ping pong with porn?
Well, thank God that they that better heads prevailed. Thank God for Stoke, whatever his name is. That
Stokely.
Yeah,
Timmy
like you
Stokely?
said on the phone the other day, like from Bachelor Party, who likes their filth clean?
Not me.
It doesn't. What would be the purpose of OnlyFans without the smut part of it? I mean, that's what it is. So I've heard. I've heard many things about it, but
I'm not. I would be completely transparent. I've never been on OnlyFans. I've never joined. I don't know anything about it. It does sound to me, looking at this article, I mean, it's like a little high and mighty with their content creators. I mean, really, it sounds like it's just a kind of a highfalutin adult content site, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's where people can get personal.
Ooh.
It's not just it's not just porn stars now. It's like regular people can go on there and make a lot of money, to people of their choosing. I've heard and I do mean that. I've heard that people that I've met.
I have a friend from Canada who says
I've actually heard that. I haven't seen. I haven't because for whatever reason, because But like when Playboy decided not to go nude anymore, all of a sudden they realized people actually didn't read the articles, so their subscription base dropped, and then they decided to go back to it. Like, just let it go. What's the problem? If people want to show their stuff, let them show their stuff. Big deal. Good for them. I'm glad. Good for them. Let the, they should be able to do that. What are they going to do? Brazzers is now only showing Sesame Street. Is that what it's going to be? Like come on.
I mean, I feel inspired. I'm going to go skinny dip in the community pool after this podcast.
Yes.
All right. Well, speaking of nudity, Groo, never mind on Friday, the little kid, he was 4 months old, who was in the pool on the cover of Nirvana's classic Nevermind album. You'd think he'd be pretty happy about having a completely earned place in pop culture history. His name is Spencer Eldon, and he got in this iconic situation with a 15-minute photo shoot when he was 4 months old. And he's now 30 years old, Groo. Some 30 years ago, his family was paid only $200 for the photo shoot for the Nirvana Nevermind cover. Spencer Eldon, now 30 years old, is claiming the Nevermind cover constitutes child porn in which he was an unwitting victim. Using a federal law, he's suing everybody from the record company to the band, hoping to extract a $150,000 judgment. Groo, is this child porn? Is it kitschy art? Do you give a shit or a fuck that the Nevermind baby is suing everybody in sight?
No, I don't care. Is it child porn? Maybe. But here's the thing. There is no way, unless they were really that stupid, there is no way when they took that baby and took those pictures that they didn't sign some kind of waiver or something that allowed it. No way that didn't happen, number one. And number two, I remember not long ago, maybe like 10 years ago,
you're right.
This guy was like showing off this whole thing. He was like, "Hey, I'm the baby. Look at me."
They did a 25-year. I did read that they did a 25. So 5 years ago, he did some kind of publicity about the cover.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, he's pissed off about it. No, throw it out. Goodbye. Go away. You have your fame. If you can prove that your parents were duped into it. If there was no waiver signed, if there was nothing signed, then fine, sue away. But, stop talking about it because we know how you truly feel about it. Now you're just looking for cash. That's all it is.
All right, strong take
because.
Oh, you had such a great pause. I was right.
Well, because you mentioned they brought up the $200. If it was $200,000, would he be suing? They made it a point to mention that they were paid $200, a measly $200 for this photo shoot. So now he's suing, but he's not suing for the money. He's suing because it was child pornography. Get your shit straight.
Yes, from the tone of the article. Yes.
Yeah. What a bum.
No. All right, we'll take it back again. A strong take by Andrew Gruthius. Finally, Groo, this Friday, ABC formally announced the reboot of the classic dramedy, The Wonder Years, that great coming-of-age story, which will now focus on a black family in the original same time frame. ABC released a trailer for its Wonder Years reboot featuring an all-new cast, a whole new story around 12-year-old Dean Williams. The revival is set in 1968 and is narrated by none other than Marvel star Don Cheadle. The show follows the Williams family of Montgomery, Alabama, as they experience segregation, love, relationships, and typical issues of preteens. Cheadle plays the adult Dean, while Elisha E.J. Williams took over the Fred Savage role as the preteen Dean. Dule Hill, Say Khan, Sengbla, and Laura Karaoke also stars as members of the Williams family. A cover of Joe Cocker's iconic Wonder Years theme song, with a little help from my friends, also plays in the trailer. Groo, the all new New You, All New Wonder Years premieres September 22nd on ABC. Groo, thoughts on this iconic show rebooted?
If you told me about a show about an African-American family in the late 60s dealing with segregation and dealing with all that stuff and the terrible things that went on in that era that was going to be narrated by an adult version of that character, I would have been incredibly interested in it. But if you're going to package it, if you're going to package it as a Wonder Years reboot, I'm out because I hate it when they do that. There's no reason. They have enough creativity. They can make that show its own. They don't have to do a reboot of the song. They don't have to say, this is a black version of the Wonder Years. Why do they need to do that? Tell your own story. Like, now I'm not interested in it. Because now it's going to be compared inevitably to the Wonder Years, which I wasn't a super fan of. I mean, there were some good episodes. I certainly haven't seen them all. It was okay. But why do that? It's the same thing with like the Karate Kid and Will Smith's kid. Like it had nothing to do with the original except in name only. So I don't like it when they do that. It shows a tremendous lack of creativity. So I'm not interested.
You don't have the French DVD import of the Wonder Years with the 12-minute extended cut of episode season 4, episode 3.
What the
Kevin gets braces episode?
No, I always was partial to Kevin's math teacher dies. That was a very emotional episode on that one. But
all right,
no, you know what I mean?
All right, hold on. Let me. You said a lot. Let me soak this all in. Hold on. Let me soak it all in. I actually agree with you. Surprisingly enough, when I saw this, I was very much not interested. Unfortunately, I mean, was anyone really asking for a Wonders Year reboot anyway? The show was pretty classic. Similar to you, I was a fan, not a mega fan. And yeah, I agree. It reeks of a lack of creativity, and again, it kind of feels, from my perspective, like a diversity wedge. Let's try to just get this in here, and when it's not sort of quote unquote, I'm going to sound like a douche, organic. Really not interested. I agree with Andy. Had it been a standalone show of its own, with Don Cheadle, he's a major star. I would have definitely been interested. But this, I'll probably maybe check it out minorly, but most likely I'll take a pass.
This is one that I'll read about, and if it's supposed to be absolutely spectacular, I'll check it out. But I'm not going to be the first.
All right. All right, Groo, let's move on. Today's Nothing Worthwhile podcast, the End of Summer Spectacular, is sponsored by New You Life Center. The journey is everything, man. Do you know that Phoenix Entrepreneur Magazine named them in the top 10, 15 med spas to watch in 2021? Oh, we're getting close to 2022. I'll wonder if they'll make the cut next year. Check out all of their medical, aesthetic, and cosmetic injectables at www.newyoulifecenters.com, NUYOU, or give them a call at 602-274-0068. Yeah, tell them Moody and Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. Thank you to New You Life Center. Groo, we're going to catch up with today's podcast. No firm topics, just covering some of the hottest stories of the summer that may have impacted the Nothing Worthwhile universe. Yeah. All right, Groo, we don't talk much about traditional sports here on the old podcast, but Groo and I do have a common love for our national pastime, which is, of course, baseball. Baseball may have waned over the years in terms of interest among youngsters, but Groo and I will most likely always be fans.
Yeah.
Groo, 2 of baseball rule changes are unlikely to become permanent. While speaking with reporters this week, last Tuesday, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said that the 7-inning doubleheader games and the automatic runner at second base in extra innings are, quote-unquote, much less likely to be part of our permanent landscape. These were COVID-related changes. I don't think a 7-inning doubleheader are going to be part of our future going forward. The rule changes were put in place to reduce time spent at the ballpark during a pandemic. With the vaccine rollout well underway and every MLB ballpark returning to 100% capacity, these rules are no longer required. However, Manfred called the universal DH a non-radical change, and it is widely expected to become permanent next season when the next collective bargaining agreement takes place. So National League and American League, perhaps universal DH. Groo, Groo, 7-inning doubleheaders, automatic runner on second base, universal DH. Is it nothing, or is it worthwhile? Baseball rule changes and proposed rule changes for 2022 and beyond.
Well, it's worthwhile in discussion because it's worthwhile to discuss. I hate all three, and I think all three should go in the crapper. I remember when I turned on a baseball game and I saw that,
You said crapper, so I was trying to flower the broadcast with some sound.
I hadn't paid attention. I saw that runner at second base who had struck out the inning before. I was like, wait a second, what the hell's going on here? And then the doubleheader 7, like, Jesus Christ, enough! Just like you're fixing what's not broken. Baseball is a different game. It's not football. It's not basketball. It's not fast-paced like that. It's always been the same. If you don't like it, don't watch it. And you want to, and if the major leagues are losing money, maybe it's because they're paying their players $25 million to go up and strike out every third at bat. Like, maybe that's where they're spending too much money. But and the DH, I've never agreed with the DH rule. So none of these changes are necessary. And I hope they all go. Away. But I think you're probably right. I'm guessing that the players' union is all for that universal DH because they're tired of these pitchers getting hurt when they hit because they don't know how to hit. But everybody just forgets that the pitcher is a part of the field, a part of the lineup, and why should they not have to hit? I never understood the DH, and I never will. But it's something that I think we're going to have to accept eventually.
I hear what you're saying, young man, but I disagree on some of your points.
Okay.
I think baseball needs to change with the times, and no, it's not on the same level as football. It's not on the same level as basketball, and it needs to get a little bit more competitive with the other major sports. The reason why I brought this up was I caught maybe a couple weeks ago, I think the Yankees Blue Jays had a doubleheader, and I found myself enjoying the 7-inning game. I found myself, wow, a game doesn't have to last 3.5 hours. And the start time, and then the next day I was listening to sports radio. They were talking about, young kids could actually watch a full game. It's not, games don't have to end at midnight. And so, while I appreciate your point, I think baseball has always been so rooted in history and historical stats, but we've seen that even move with, the 500 home runs and the, 300 wins, and I could talk about that as well. But for this topic, I would advocate to keep the 7-inning doubleheader. I'm maybe not a fan of the runner starting on second base if we go into extra innings, but they're trying to tinker with it because, games are too long. 162 games per season. It's a monstrosity.
There are other changes that they can make. There are other changes that they can make.
The universal DH, it's probably going to happen. I see your point. I'm not really for it or against it, but it's probably going to happen, number one, just because you can get an additional hitter with offense, and every sport loves offense.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. I would advocate for baseball to look at some of these rule changes and perhaps keep them going post, COVID, so to speak.
You want to know what I saw? You want to know what I saw when I saw a baseball game this summer? It's not that. The 9 innings are taking too long. It's that a pitcher throws a pitch, and then he gets it back, and then he walks around the mound a little bit. He takes the rosin bag, he smokes a cigarette, he has a beer, whatever, and then he throws the next pitch. Like, why is it a minute between pitches? That wasn't like it was. Baseball games did not last 3.5 hours, 30 years ago. Now, I know we're living in different times, but why must a pitcher have so much time between, he gets the ball, he throws it back, gets the ball, throws it back? What's wrong with that? Take the sign and throw it back. What's with the little stroll around the field, what is that?
So I think they've experimented in the minor leagues with almost like a shot clock, similar to basketball, where there is a time element for pitchers. I'd have to research that a little bit further, but I've definitely seen where they've tried to address the whole thing with the pitcher. He's grabbing his nuts, rosin bag. He's texting his friends,
and it doesn't even help with the pitcher's longevity in the game, because now a pitcher is only supposed to go 6 innings, unlike before where they went 9 and where they went 8 and 9.
Are you still a fan? I mean, that's sort of where the game's evolved. I mean, there's such a dearth of starting pitching that a team like the Yankees, I give Cashman credit in that sense. Payroll notwithstanding, you can get 5 or 6 decent relievers, not even lights out guys, and you can find yourself pretty competitive in every game if you can get a starter that could just tough out. Used to be even 5 or 6 innings. Now it's like 4 innings. You can get 4 innings from Domingo German. You're happy.
Yeah, but the problem is, okay, these guys are coming in. They're pitching maybe 100 pitches, if that, a game, and they're still getting Tommy John surgery. Look at Syndergaard. Look at DeGrom. I'm going with the Mets because I'm a Met fan. They're both out. Okay. They're both out, and they're not. And DeGrom was having watching DeGrom pitch was exciting in and of itself. So if you get good competitors out there, you're going to have interest. But if you're going to have a bunch of, so that's part of it. But, baseball in and of itself, you're right. I am not the fan I once was of the major leagues. I'm a fan of the game, but watching Major League Baseball is not enjoyable to me, not because of the time that you invest, but because of the game itself. The changes that the game has gone through have not resonated with me. It's the same with other sports too.
Well, I don't disagree. As I've gotten older, I've gotten definitely less passionate as a fan with sports. With the Tommy John, I think the guys now are just so built up, so strong. The torque is so incredible that, and these kids, some of these pitchers start so young.
Yeah, well,
10,
that's
11
the thing.
Years
that's
old.
the thing. I mean, as a baseball coach, high school baseball coach, I do see people starting way too young. And overextending themselves.
I guess I'm for any rule that's going to speed it up. Matter of fact, Andy, I'll go completely 180. I want like a 45-minute baseball game. I want every wacky rule. Put them on a shot clock.
Yeah.
Make it a 1-out inning. I want to get in and get out and go ahead with my life, so I can lay on the couch after the game. There you go. So, all right. Our first sports conversation. Let's move on to some more comfortable ground. Groo, the summer of 2021 was a return of sorts to the summer movie blockbuster. Whether it was back in the theater, streaming, or a bit of both, the summer of 2021 was loaded with some big movies like Godzilla vs. Kong, A Quiet Place 2, Cruella, In the Heights, Black Widow, Space Jam: A New Legacy, Old, Jungle Cruise, and the forthcoming reboot of Candyman. Groo, thoughts on the summer movie experience and the state of cinema in 2021? Is it nothing or worthwhile that movies are back in a big way in the good old US of A?
Definitely worthwhile. I went to the movies twice this summer after not stepping foot into a movie theater in a long time, and I really enjoyed it, even if it was the old Hancock movie center in beautiful Hancock, New York. It was we actually rented out the theaters to go see. We did it twice. I went to see Black Widow, which I did not really like that much, but probably only because I'm not caught up with all the Marvel stuff. So everything that the kids were like oohing and eyeing about, I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. Right. But then we saw Jungle Cruise, which actually I liked. I enjoyed that. It was fun. I really did. I was surprised. I was like, this is a lot of fun. I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's like Indiana Jones-ish, with the Rock twist. It was fun. It was definitely fun, but it was great to be back in the theater, and I'm definitely looking forward to some that are coming our way. I know the Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters Afterlife is coming in November.
All right, so let me interrupt you here because I am not jazzed up with that trailer. I am not jazzed up about the new Ghostbusters.
I'm not by the trailer. I am by what I'm reading about it. So the trailer, I agree with you. doesn't scream. It's got a couple of little tidbits, but I've read things about it which definitely piqued my interest. I'm expecting the original cast not to be in it that much, which to me is a negative. But it's definitely interesting, something that I want to see in the theater. Absolutely. There's that. There's the I know we're I'm living in another decade, but there's the director's cut of Rocky IV, which is coming out in November, which should be come on, that should be interesting. Oh wait,
is that going to be in the theater? Is that going to be in the theaters?
Yeah, it's going to be in the theater. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll probably
that should be fun to watch. So I think I forgot.
Listen, that's the new movie Andy's touting on the podcast.
Director's
cut of Rocky IV.
Rocky IV, and Ghostbusters 3. And there are some other ones. There were some other ones. I love the idea of, again, Jesus. I mean, there's no creativity, but it's still fun. Like Michael Keaton returning to Batman. That to me is something I'll definitely check out. So, to answer your question, it was really great to be back in a movie theater. I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed the experience.
Well, what do you think in this current climate in terms of movie grosses? Because I read an article with the Suicide Squad, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I watched that on HBO Max. Thank you, Andy Gruthius. Mm-hmm. But it made over $100 million domestically, but they're still saying it's like a disappointment. I mean, is this current climate with streaming sort of competitive now with the in-cinema experience? Again, almost similar to like 500 home run. Is the metric going to be shifting a little bit in terms of what's considered a success for a big popcorn movie?
I can't see how it won't. They're obviously going to have to try to, or if maybe they have already, gauge the subscriptions. And I don't know, can they tell? They must be able to tell what people are watching on these Netflix and these HBO Maxes and stuff.
But doesn't an HBO Max pay a lot of money to get the rights to stream that movie?
Sure, they do.
Like sort of
yeah, they do. Okay. And then look, if I didn't look, you know me, I get everything. So I get all these things. But if I didn't,
we actually pretty much get everything too now.
But if I didn't, and you told me that that the Ghostbusters movie was going to be either in the movies or on the HBO Max site, and I didn't get it, I'd probably definitely sign up for HBO Max. I mean, there are people who are going to sign up for their stuff based on what comes out, and then they're going to see what else is on those things, and they'll probably keep it. That's what they're betting on. So the grosses at the movie theaters are, to me, $100 million in this day and age. That's good. Like, it tells me people are starting to go back to the movie theaters. But remember, we're still in the pandemic. You know, it's coming back for its third or fourth round already. So I think there are a lot of people who are still weary about going to a movie theater. And yet, in all that, these movies are still making not the kind of money they were making before, but they're coming back. So hopefully they'll continue.
Actually, you know what? I'm just thinking about movies and COVID. COVID would be a great franchise, like COVID 2, The Return. Like, let's write a script, write a treatment, and get it to me. Email it to me quickly, please. Thank you.
Just another thing I'm going to say I'm going to do and then not do.
Okay. So you saw 2 movies. We'll talk about one of them in a little bit. Did you see this Suicide Squad on HBO Max? The John Cena,
I didn't see the first one either.
Okay. All right. We'll just move on. I'll write it and we'll do it live. All right, Groo. After endless months of canceled gigs and scrap tours, many music acts have rescheduled itineraries and beginning to return to the stage as the world cautiously starts to reopen its doors, though they may be closing, as Andy has said. Concerts are now being scheduled for the rest of 2021, but for 2022 as well. There are over 28 rock artists who will be playing shows this year or next, from the Piano Man, Billy Joel, to the Boss, Bruce Springsteen, Guns N' Roses, Kiss, Sammy Hagar, and all in between. It seems like the live concert experience is back. Perhaps the biggest one maybe for us, Nothing Worthwhile fans are our favorites. Genesis, as the classic three lineup of Phil Collins, Tony Banks, and Mike Rutherford, are back for a Europe and a East Coast USA tour. Groo, thoughts on the return of Genesis, and is it nothing or worthwhile, the return of the live concert experience?
Definitely worthwhile. Probably the thing I missed the most about the last couple of years. Especially, we talk all the time about our favorites. Their clock is ticking. So, I don't like the fact that most of them had to give up 2 years of possible output or touring for us to see. And I'm glad it's coming back. I think that the mandates that are being handed down are necessary. They make me more comfortable in going to these things. I am not afraid to, if I have to mask up, I will. Won't stop my enjoyment from them. I definitely want to see Genesis. I've seen them several times. I know you haven't, and I definitely want to see it with you to complete the circle that was started in 1991, where you ditched me at Giant Stadium for whatever test you had to take or something. I remember.
Yes,
but we never consummated that that Genesis concert. God, that sounded weird, but yeah, definitely. I don't care if Collins has to do it from a wheelchair. I will see Genesis until they drop. I love that band, and I really want to see him. Definitely excited to see Billy Joel again. Springsteen was ready to go out on the road. He put out that great album, and they were ready to tour behind it, and then they got shut down. So I know they're itching to do that, and I'm itching to see it. So bring it on. Bring on live music. Let's do it. But let's do it right. Let's not fuck around. No, right? Do you disagree?
I do. I'm not. I've gotten the vaccine. I'm not a fan of mandating anything. People have a free choice, and again, I understand it's private business. They could do whatever they want. I don't agree with that, and I think it's just separating people into. I'm seeing the sports vaccinated section only. I mean, look, I have my card.
That's
it's fine.
Weird. I didn't even see that. That's very strange.
I'm not a fan. I've been very consistent from my point. If we go to WrestleMania, we go to these events, I'm realizing every time I step out of my house, there's a chance of something happening, and I'm going to accept that risk and go ahead and live my life. I'm not a fan of mandating anything locally or federally. I'm just not. With that being said, I'm real excited for Genesis because, you talk about the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord, it's, if you've seen Phil Collins, not in the best of shape. Although they have been putting out little vignettes on Facebook. I must have subscribed to something. They put out these little videos like, they did a backstory on Follow You, Follow Me. They put out a little 5-minute video about how that was, the song came up. So,
I saw something
I'm looking forward to
where they were rehearsing. I saw something.
They did put something on YouTube. So I'm hopeful for back for the live concert experience. And
Billy Joel already started, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's good.
Are you really excited to see Billy Joel?
Of course I am. We talk about
they put him on a crane, a harness, and just drop him.
I was listening to that podcast that'll remain nameless that you told me about this morning, and it got me a little bit jazzed up about it. I was like, yeah, you know what? It's still always a fun experience going, with our group to see Billy Joel. And it's always going to be a fun time, whether it's a great set list or a lousy set list. So yes, I am excited, and I'm hoping that our trip to New York in November will coincide with another Billy Joel show like it did last time. Hopefully.
Yeah. I'll just tell you, in terms of Billy, this morning when I was working out, I had on YouTube playing on my laptop. I had the Wembley 86. It was the Innocent Man tour,
right?
It was a show that was taped for European broadcast only. At Toots Thielman come out and do Leave a Tender Moment Alone on harmonica on harmonicky. Anyway, it was just fun to see younger Billy and the band. It was a little bit more of the classic lineup. And anyway,
I'm definitely excited to see him again, without a doubt.
Well, speaking of excitement, Groo, it would not be a nothing worthwhile end of summer spectacular unless we discuss the king of all media, Howard Stern. Howard has finally managed, perhaps, to shock his fans by taking the entire summer off after signing a new deal with SiriusXM said to be worth over $500 million. The king of all media allegedly, and I think that's a key point to discuss, allegedly negotiated a clause in his new SiriusXM contract to give him a break between the end of June and early September. But SiriusXM subscribers, obviously, I'm copying this from an article, so SiriusXM subscribers are revolting, saying Stern, who usually spends time at his Hamptons spread during the summer, has to honor their monthly commitment, or lest they cancel the subscription. One fan fumed on Reddit, Howard Stern taking the whole summer off? It's bullshit, man!
That's an interesting point.
Howard Stern, I was hoping for a chuckle, or I'm trying to. All right, Howard Stern just announced per his new contract, they will not be doing any new shows after this week until September. At first, he tried to claim that they always do this during the summer, meaning take the summer off, then pivoted and said that this summer off was part of the new deal he made. I paid $20 a month for SiriusXM, and I'm not paying $40 for reruns. All Stern fans should do this. If I knew the new deal would be like this, I would have rooted for Howard to retire. Groo, you may remember that in December of 2020, Howard did sign a new contract with SiriusXM to extend his deal for his long-running show for another 5 years. The terms of the deal, which have not been revealed, but is thought to be in excess of $100 million per year, which therefore allegedly means he's getting about $17 million for 2 months of summer vacation. Stern, 67, is already said to be worth around $650 million. Groo, thoughts on the Stern summer vacation, and are the listeners getting? Is it nothing or worthwhile that the listeners are getting a major raw deal?
Oh, it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile because that's an excellent point. I haven't even thought about that. Like, we pay monthly, and a lot of people did sign up just for Howard Stern. Now, there's no way to prove that, but that's a very interesting point. You sign up and you get charged monthly, and the question is, okay, if he's not going to be live monthly, do I get credited for those months? Like, that's a very interesting point. And what I don't understand is they keep paying him more to do less, as if his fan base and his ratings and everything were growing, and they're clearly not. So well, I'm trying to. Go ahead.
Here's why. That's why I said allegedly, because if you listen to this one podcast that I shared with you, which is basically a Howard hate podcast, and it's basically fans who used to be classic fans and are so disillusioned, which I am really falling into at this point.
Me too.
It's just like I just can't stand this current, and that's. We could discuss that a little bit if you want, but I've said this on other podcasts we've done that supposedly these are somewhat red herrings, or these are untruths, and that Howard has gotten less. Would you be surprised if I've heard or told you that there are theories that SiriusXM has mandated this vacation, that this was part of his deal, he's getting less, and that if his show, the budget and whatnot, these are all fan theories, that the budget has been parsed down, and that Howard will have to come back for these final 5 years with a very scaled-back show. Hence the rumors that Baba Booey sold his house in Connecticut. Shuli moved to Alabama and eventually left the show. Brent left the show. I think Jason Kaplan, I didn't read this, but apparently somebody said he sold his house. Ronnie the limo driver sold his house and moved to Vegas, so that the tea leaves, the show is coming back in a much sparser, less prominent role on SiriusXM. Your thoughts?
I don't know. How could it be more sparse than it already is?
Well, okay.
But no, am I right? I mean, I would think you would agree with that. Maybe that everybody's downsizing lately, so maybe that's part of it. But the thing is, I look at it from a much simpler perspective, because if the show was great, none of this would bother anybody. But fans have not been happy with the show for a while.
That's true.
So if they were happier with the show and happier with the content, with the output, a 2-month break wouldn't bother them. I mean, it might bother them a little, but they wouldn't be revolting. But they're saying, like, you're taking a break from doing nothing. You're taking a break from sitting in your basement for 3 hours 3 times a week. Like, that's what doesn't make sense. He obviously can do the show from anywhere in the world at this point, because he does. So why does he need 2.5 months or 3 months off from what? Like, from what? I know work does go into the show, but it can't be a fraction of what it used to be. So that's the issue. The issue is the quality of the show does not justify the 3-month break. I think to put it simply, that's what it is to me. Like, give me incredible shows. Do things like you used to do them, at least try, or look like you're trying. Be honest with your audience. Talk to them like they're your peers, like you used to, rather than condescend to them like you do now. And then take your time off. I'm good with that. But if you're gonna be what you've been, don't be upset when people are bitching at you about it.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend, who claims, show is still pretty solid. I mean, I don't know. I have no interest in listening to Howard, interview Sally Field. I just feel like when I was listening to all your points, I said in my head how the mighty have fallen, and I just never. I actually asked this of somebody. I just don't remember an entertainer I get it, he's older and evolved. I'm not against that, but I just don't remember an artist move away from his or her core so much over the course of a lifetime. I mean, it's just the show is nowhere near, and he set a very high bar, I'll give you that, but the classic, and there's a couple different classic eras of Howard that I always think of. I always think of the Billy and Jackie, and of course that late K-Rock, early Sirius XM run was really spotless in my mind as well. But boy, this new version is just nowhere near it. You're right, it's a lack of truth, condescension, pandering, overly political, it's just I can't listen. And then I say to myself, why can't I break the I really want to get rid of Sirius XM, but I do enjoy some of the other stuff.
I got rid of it.
Sound in my,
believe it or not, I got rid of it.
Oh, so you don't listen to it at all?
No, I don't. There's no reason to.
I thought you texted me and said you were listening to 101.
No, I got it. I got rid of it in May.
Oh, right. You have it in
now,
right,
but now I just had to lease a new car, and it's got it for 6 months, so for free. So I don't pay for it. I'll certainly take it for free. But once the 6 months is up, what's left to listen to? I have all the music. I get Apple Music, so any kind of music I want is that would come. Actually, you know what I've been listening to since this will surprise you. I've been listening to the Grateful Dead station, which has been a fun listen a little bit. So, but the point is, Stern is no longer the.
You mean? I love the Grateful Dead. It's like Dick's Picks, and the guy's like, tune in tonight from Overton, Vermont, 1975. Hear a meaty Bertha, Jerry and Phil Lesh's bass line. Like it's just like.
Where do you hear the 37-minute version of "Standing on the Moon Tonight"? It'll blow
right,
your mind.
And it's like. Listen to the interplay with Brent Midland's deep vocals and the Bob Weir's thin but meaty rhythm guitar, and I'm just like, all right, just
no, I do, but I do enjoy listening to that. I'll always listen, see what's going on East Street Radio, and But I find myself actually, most of the time, like especially in the morning and the afternoon when I get in the car before and after work, I'll either listen to CNN or Fox News just to see what's going on and see the different spins. It's but Howard is look, I'll be curious to hear what he has to say, if anything, when he comes back after this thing. If anything.
And that's the thing. So am I, but I feel like I'm going to be texting you going, he said nothing.
Yes, there'll
be no change.
It'll be like, remember yesterday when we were talking to Sally Field? Oh, wait, that was 3 months ago. Yeah, well, anyway, the Flying Nun, that was hot.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks, Howard.
All right, well, Groo, we're going to wrap it up with our main love of grown men shaved down,
oiled up,
tan. And if no, it's not gay porn, folks. It's professional wrestling, specifically the WWE. So actually, in a rush to get my notes ready, I kind of just did bullet points. So let's hit every bullet point. Grew over the summer. World Wrestling Entertainment has cut over 57 staff, from producers, agents, and major talent such as Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. Is it nothing or is it worthwhile? What's your thoughts on the cuts?
It's worthwhile.
I'll get into some other thoughts in a little bit, but rumors about the WWE possibly for sale, nothing or worthwhile. Give me your thoughts. A lot of people gone from NXT to the brand to talent to producers. A lot of people gone, losing their jobs.
Definitely worthwhile to talk about. There are some that I understand and some that boggle my mind. For example, Bray Wyatt. I did not see that coming at all. Don't get it. He was every time, every iteration of his character was a hit. And just when it would be striking, he would disappear again. I don't understand what the whole thing was with him. Strowman, I was surprised, but they kind of whereas every time they'd come up with something for Bray Wyatt, he would sell the hell out of it. Strowman was always second fiddle. He never quite got to where he should have been. But still, there are people on the roster. Maybe it's a money thing. It's obviously a money thing, but there are people on the roster who are definitely taking up space other than Braun Strowman. So I didn't quite get that. Aleister Black, I didn't quite see that coming. Are they for sale? I'd be surprised if Vince actually wants to sell his share of the company. I mean, it is a McMahon enterprise. Maybe to Shane or Stefan. I don't know what the. It's a public company, so I don't know what the pecking order is of all that or who holds what. But I definitely know Triple H wants to be in charge of the whole thing at some point. I don't see them selling. I hope they don't. But do you think that they see other promotions as competition, and that's why they're kind of like what do you think it is?
Okay, that's actually a great point. Let me get to your first question.
Okay.
Vince has been on the record, and I believe Nick Khan, who is the CEO of WWE, had been on the record saying, and perhaps foolishly so, and I want you to hold off on your thoughts because I have a bullet point about this, but they've specifically said they don't see competition. They don't see AEW as competition, and I'll ask you about that in a little bit. You mentioned Bray Wyatt, Aleister Black. I had in my notes about Bray and Braun Strowman. I agree with you with Bray Wyatt. The character was such that even if he was bad booked, and he has been bad booked, WrestleMania it did not go over well with the fans. But what I've always said about wrestling is you're never really booked in a corner. One good move creatively, and you're back in the spotlight. Unless you're somebody like a Big Show, who at this point he's 50. I don't really give a shit about him anymore. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, no doubt, but I didn't really care that he went to, Mark Henry as well. The two guys you mentioned, Braun Strowman, again, surprised but not shocked. But Bray Wyatt was a guy, that character, they put so much time and money and creative emphasis into it. I was surprised.
And he was over. He was over.
Yeah, I think that from what I read specifically with Bray Wyatt was he was getting a bit particular, what I read about his character backstage, and he was getting a bit perhaps tough to deal with behind the scenes. Now, I thought about this, and I thought about the Bret Harts of the world, the wrestlers who have been very vested in their characters and have been, quote unquote been pains in the asses. And I've changed my position a little bit. This is their profession. I've been on this podcast and I killed Bret Hart and said he was completely over the top, and I don't disagree with a lot of my points, but at the end of the day, their character is all they have, and so if they want to get a bit protective about it, and I do have to understand that. I think Bray Wyatt, WrestleMania was not a great. The fans were not happy about wherever they took the character. I would have perhaps kept Bray Wyatt, and I think Aleister Black personally, I liked. I just don't. I don't think that they see these guys as needle changers. We'll talk about some guys who are coming on board that perhaps could turn the needle in professional wrestling. I'll talk about that, but to your point about competition, I don't think the WWE right now sees anybody as competition, whether that's good or foolish. We'll talk about in a bit. I just feel like the guys and the girls that they got rid of, they just didn't see as they have had a different philosophy about. Vince is definitely, from what I read, put forth a new philosophy on wrestlers and stars, and we could talk about that as a bit as well. To your point about the WWE being sold, I thought, everything I read was they were positioning themselves to be sold. You're getting leaner as a company. They make a massive amount of money from all the network and Peacock and all these different, different things. They have a ton of, revenue streams. So they're very nimble as a company. And I'm sure by lowering, getting the books lined up, they're making themselves more attractive. But Nick Khan came out and said that they're not for sale. And so it's going to remain, I guess, for now in the hands of the McMahon family, which I still think is a good thing.
I do too.
Maybe. I've said a lot. I'll take a pause. Any thoughts on what I've said?
Well, the point about the competition. Well, no. Let me go first to the because I'm guessing you're going to have something about it later on. If you don't, I'll bring it up.
Yes.
All right. So I'll wait on that. The protecting the character bit. I've always agreed with that. Okay, like with Bret Hart and Bray Wyatt, whatever. Yes, it is your character. You need to protect it as far as creativity goes. But never, to me, the issue with Bret Hart was always like he doesn't want to. It was like with wins and losses, that was like that's the difference.
He didn't want to do business,
right? Exactly,
so
and you can and that's where you draw the line. If you don't, I could see him having a problem with the when Vince wanted him to like start pissing all over America and go. I can see where he'd have a problem with that. And that's like Sergeant Slaughter, the same thing. Like, it's a tough pill to swallow. But when the boss asks you do the job for this guy, you do it. Savage always had that mentality. I remember reading interviews with him. Like he was always like whatever's best for the company, whatever they want me to do, I'm going to do. As far as taking the fall or taking the win. So I don't think that was an issue with Wyatt. But yes, I did read that Wyatt was trying to get really into the creative. But it's like, do you want people who are not passionate about what they're doing?
I agree, and I think for the WWE, like I just read that the Friday Night SmackDown 2.8, great ratings for a current SmackDown, and when they allow their guys and girls a little bit more creative input, I'm not saying they have to go into no bullet points, but I wish they were a little bit less scripted and a little bit more from the gut. When WrestleMania happened, we were there in Tampa with the rain delay. Apparently, they let the guys and girls just cut promos to kill time.
Yeah.
Before and they said some of them were really great. And the Cena, Roman Reigns, that whole it was completely unscripted. You got some real killer, old school, like ooh and ah, dig promos. Yes, I agree. Let them get a little bit more involved.
Yes,
within whatever constraints you have in the company. I would like to see that.
Yeah, there's got to be more to the Bray Wyatt thing. I'm curious about that because he was one of their top guys.
Well, speaking of Bray, it's rumored both AEW and even Impact Wrestling are hot on his trail. So Andy had mentioned about competition and whatnot. So AEW has already brought back CM Punk. He came back about 2 weeks ago, I believe, on their Wednesday broadcast. I'm not sure the name of the broadcast, but he came back and cut a 9-minute promo emphasizing his return. He did not mention the WWE by name, but clearly there was a couple of slight digs. Not as many as I really thought, reading between the tea leaves. Rumored, and apparently that's been verified, is Daniel Bryan coming back to AEW, I think within a week or two, to their next big pay-per-view. So, Groo, you've had Andrade, Big Show, Mark Henry, Christian, a lot of big names, maybe not superstars, but big names in the professional wrestling industry. Is it nothing worthwhile? Is AEW moving the needle in terms of competition with the big guys, the WWE?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure because I really don't see. I haven't paid attention to ratings, and I don't think there's any credence to comparing AEW. I know AEW was on against NXT, and they were comparing those ratings. To me, that's like comparing a major league game to a minor league game.
No, I don't think so.
I do.
I disagree with that comparison.
Okay.
Well, I'll get into NXT, but I mean, no. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Just because here's what I see about NXT. All right, so you've got CM Punk showing up there. To me, it's too little, too late. And I watched his entrance and I watched a couple minutes of his promo. I said, okay, here he goes, and that's going to be that. I know I'm not going to watch AEW because I'm still not interested because they seemingly haven't done much with the people they've brought over. Like, I haven't heard much about Jon Moxley, a.k.a. Dean Ambrose. I haven't heard much about the Big Show or any, like, I haven't heard much about what's going on over there. So I feel like CM Punk going over there will be like another Bret Hart going to WCW. Big splash in the beginning, and then it'll just be badly booked, and then it'll just fade off. And I do believe that CM Punk could have come back to the WWE and walked right into a built-in narrative. Like another Stone Cold kind of thing. Angry with the company. They could have rode that wave and had so much fun with it. And here they're putting him in. They're putting him in a feud with this guy Darby. I don't even know who that is.
It's Darby Allin, and
okay.
he's a big name for AEW.
Okay, but but is there history there? Is there something that is there something to be done with that? But wait, I'm not done yet. So you've got that. I don't understand WWE. Daniel Bryan's contract was up, and I guess Bryan Danielson is choosing to go to AEW rather than re-sign with WWE. Maybe they're not offering him that much, but he's still over in WWE. I don't get it. Like, I just there's something that we don't know. There's something that but I don't think AEW is going to be able to repeat the kind of success that WCW had, simply because, like you said, WWE is not really paying attention to them. Although, would you say that Brock Lesnar was an answer to CM Punk?
I would, and I want to hold off on that. But let me hit up some of your points.
All right,
you made some good points.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about first CM Punk. Okay, your first thing about a little too late. I agree with you, but is it really ever a little bit too late in professional wrestling? I mean, Kurt Angle came back to WWE at 50. Undertaker wrestled until he's 55.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but my answer is yes, only because he never really went fully away. He was always
CM Punk.
No, no. But he was always active on Twitter. He was always talking shit. He was always like and he went on that show, the WWE show. So he was always kind of around. It wasn't like he drifted off into oblivion, and then all of a sudden he's back, like the Warrior did that time, or Kurt Angle, or Edge. Even Edge was around a little bit, but he was thought to be fully retired. We all knew that CM Punk could still do it. He was just choosing not to. So to me, that's the difference. Do you know what I mean?
Your Kurt Angle reference. I mean, he was with TNA for an amazing run. All right, but let me get back to CM Punk. Your point. I agree with you. I'm not really interested in seeing CM Punk unless he was back in a WWE ring, because I agree with you. There's so much history there. I just don't think the two of them, from what I've read, the WWE is just not interested. They consider him a pain in the ass, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But if you're the biggest wrestling promotion in the world and you're the biggest wrestling entertainment company in the world, I think you try and make that happen, and maybe it takes a while. Maybe there's a lot of negotiation, but I agree with you. I'm not interested in seeing CM Punk in an AEW ring. Maybe like you, I'll probably flip it on. I'll watch for a couple of minutes. Maybe I won't even watch. I'll go on YouTube and see a highlight, and I'll be like, okay, great. To see him in a WWE ring with that history, with the comments that he said, with the comments that they've said, would have been probably fascinating television. And even at 43, I'm not saying it's over and done with, because he could do his 3 or 4 years. And again, it could be a little too late. But, the WWE, like the Yankees, have had a history of bringing back people, free agents who badmouth the shit out of everything, and they've made it work, or at least, work. Daniel Bryan, I agree with everything you said. He main evented WrestleMania. He was over. From what I've read, he wanted the flexibility to wrestle in Japan. WWE was not going to give it to him. Supposedly, the WWE was negotiating with New Japan Wrestling to have some kind of agreement, perhaps as inspired by Daniel Bryan, and that fell through, and then Daniel Bryan went elsewhere.
Did he officially sign with them? With AEW?
From what I've read, it's not been official, but it's official. They've not announced anything, but it's a done deal.
See, I'll be disappointed if that happens.
You've said it's not a needle mover. I will give a Groo answer. I think it's somewhere in between. From what I've read, AEW did 1.1 million viewers on the CM Punk return, which is they usually do under 1 million. So he definitely got people eyeballs. Is it a massive return? Clearly no, at 1.1 million, but the numbers are improved. I think it's foolhardy for the WWE to come out there and make statements like, we don't see competition, which I think is a bunch of bullcrap. Because to your point, which was my next bullet, was clearly I think the return of Brock Lesnar was, as we texted, and I said to you, they are trying to get the back page of all the websites. They want to get that narrative back on them. And while I enjoyed Brock, it feels a bit rushed. It feels a bit disjointed. He was supposed to be on SmackDown last night, then apparently he was pulled. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, if they brought him back, get him in a fucking storyline and let's go. I think it was rushed. From what I've read, they were trying to angle for, either a main event of a Mania or a SummerSlam, not just a run-in. So yes, I'll throw it back to you. But yes, I think the Brock Lesnar was clearly a move to get some of the focus back on them, other than AEW. Your thoughts?
And here's the difference between the two. And I do agree 100%, 110% with you. It did feel rushed, did feel like an answer. However, unlike Punk, Brock walked into a built-in narrative. There is heat between. There is the threesome there: Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and Brock Lesnar. And now they're walking into a thing that I wanted to happen a while ago. I wanted to see Brock as the face and Roman as the heel, and that's what it seems like they're going to have. So I'm excited by this. But yes, I do agree with you. If you're going to bring him back, bring him back. So they obviously had to throw something to balance the scale a little bit. With that being said, CM Punk, it's like, okay, put him in with this guy, put him in with that guy, whatever. But if he was in the WWE, put him in with Cena, put him in with Brock, put him in with Goldberg. That would be fun. Put him in with anybody, and you have built-in heat. But it's, I don't care about this, whatever they're setting up in AEW, because it's manufactured. In the WWE, it would not be manufactured. It'd be very organic. And that, to me, is what Brock Lesnar coming back into that storyline is. It's organic because it's something that already exists, and you can take it in a new direction. That's what I like about it.
Part of the WWE's problem, though, is what you said, because if you noticed when you talked about CM Punk coming back potentially to WWE, you referenced all veteran superstar wrestlers. It's not like nobody goes, hold on, let me finish.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
You don't say, oh, I'd love to see CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, which is where they need to go. They need to really establish new stars. So, yeah, I mean, from what I've read, Brock is a done deal, 10 to 12 matches a year. CM Punk is even less, perhaps 8 to 10, but Punk will appear on their programming, I guess, every week. So he'll be doing the live shows, cutting these insane promos, perhaps.
10 to 12 matches for Lesnar is a lot.
That's what I've read. It's like one a month. That's not great.
But he usually doesn't do one a month when he's been around. Well, he would do like the big four.
I read it on WrestlingSmurf.com. .net.
Wrestling Smurf.
Well, here's my last point to discuss would be, we talked about stars, and part of this 57 cuts, there was a lot of people cut from NXT, and supposedly now NXT is going through a rebranding. Vince McMahon, supposedly the new philosophy of the company is, which is contrary to Triple H, is they are no longer going to sign independent wrestlers, rather go back to the well and looking at tryouts where they're looking at football players, track stars, perhaps fitness models, people from diverse backgrounds, people from diverse fitness backgrounds that Vince, again, wants to focus on. Say what you like, the 80s, the 6'4", the tan, the ripped, the females who are very, very beautiful fitness. He wants superstars, and he wants people with those looks. He doesn't want, Shecky Gimmelstein, who wrestled on CCW for 4 years. And so a lot of these cuts from NXT, the show is going to be rebranded really as more of a developmental show, not quote unquote a third brand. And they want to get these youngsters. So that I know the WWE just had a tryout in Las Vegas where they signed 13 new people. Only one had prior wrestling experience. These are all new people from different sports, fitness backgrounds. Groo, nothing are worthwhile. NXT rebranding and Vince's philosophical shift to non-independent wrestlers. We want people with different backgrounds, and we're going to teach them the WWE way. Go.
Worthwhile because their biggest stars have been, I would say, some of the people who've been homegrown, and I like them. I like them because they are an entertainment company, so they're going to look at the whole package with all these people. They're going to look at, all right, where are their strengths and weaknesses? They're not having to deal with somebody who's coming in who's already protective of their character or all these things. They're going to be able to mold these people into what they want them to be or where they see the talent there. So I kind of like that idea. My concern with NXT is the people who are kind of hovering back and forth. I know one of our favorites, Keith Lee, he came back and then kind of disappeared again. From
what I read with Keith Lee, he had an illness. I don't know if it was COVID. He's wrestling on the Raw brand. He's doing dark matches. I think there was some kind of health concern. He's still with them, and hopefully he'll get back into the spotlight. He came back and he wrestled. He came back and wrestled Lashley as part of the build-up to the Lashley Goldberg SummerSlam feud, and had a great match, but ended up losing to Lashley on television. I think that was his last match a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and it's like, but when you looked at the SummerSlam, are we going to talk about that, or are we just?
We certainly can.
All right,
so we're riffing right now. I mean,
all right. So when you looked at that SummerSlam card, there was not much that I wasn't interested in that card. I mean, some of the matches weren't great, but as far as on paper, I think the WWE is loaded right now. Do you disagree?
I think it's an optimistic view. I agree with you. SummerSlam was a good show, and I agree that some of the matches were not great. Apparently, it's the most viewed pay-per-view in the history of the WWE.
Wait, who? What?
Streaming it. That's what I've read. It
Wow.
was the most viewed, perhaps with the most streams. So they did a good job. But somebody like a guy like we read, like Mr. Tito, said that SummerSlam is completely indicative of the problems that the WWE have, that they have to pull in a John Cena and a Bill Goldberg to headline major matches, that they're just unable to really create new stars. If you look since 2014, and again, you'll probably debate me, but there's one guy, Roman Reigns, one guy that they've created into a star. Is he the crossover name of a Cena or a Rock or a Stone Cold? Absolutely not. He's been in some movies, he's got name recognition, and they've done a good job building him up where people will come out to see this new heel dominant champ, Roman Reigns. Other than Roman Reigns, they've really not been able to create sustainable stars on the men's side. Obviously you could argue with Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks. They're pretty big names on the women's side. I won't argue that. I think they've done a little bit of a better job on the women's side. But on the men's side, they've just not been able, which is the same problem with WCW. It was Goldberg was the only homegrown guy they ever be able to put out there, and they got to create some. They got to create some new, some
right.
Some
Let's go back to what you were just saying. That seems to be what they're trying to do by rebranding it. Right, that's what you said. They're going back and they want to sign some new talent and really groom them. So what does Tito have to say about that? That seems to be the direction they're headed in, right?
The only reason why I knew about him was because you told me to go on NoDQ.com. Thank you. I'll give them a plug. But he's the only wrestling guy I like to read, and I don't always agree with him. But again, his article was SummerSlam was indicative, and again, he said he enjoyed some of the matches, but indicative of the problems with the WWE. And I'll give you the other thing that was mentioned, which I agree as well, and I'm sure you're not going to care, but They pivoted with the women's match with Bianca and Sasha because I believe Sasha may have.
I do care, surprisingly. Go.
And then they brought Becky Lynch out to great fanfare, and they completely squashed Bianca Belair in a 30-second. And again, people might say, well, that's protective booking. Bianca could come out and say, I got totally. But I don't think people were against Becky winning the title. I think people were against took 4 or 5 months to build this gal up into she's kind of like a female John Cena. She's an NCAA.
That was the big WrestleMania moment that we were there for. Remember?
And for them to completely squash her, people were really upset. There was even some talk on racist tones, which I'm not going to get into, but people were very much upset with. Not that Becky came back and won the belt; it was just how she did it.
Yeah, it was a 15-second squash. But it did not. Oh God, it did not make any sense whatsoever. Actually, before the match, when they were just staring each other down and licking their lips, I was like, they're going to go at it right now. They're going to get some hot lesbo action. I was really excited there for a second, but no, I did find that to be very disappointing. I wanted a really solid match between those two. It looked like it could have been fun, especially like I just said. They made that moment at WrestleMania that we were there for when Sasha won like the biggest thing that's ever happened. And now to do what they did makes less than no sense. And I didn't see Raw. Are they Raw or SmackDown? SmackDown. So I didn't see it this week, so I don't know. I'll watch it. I'll watch the rerun today. So I don't know where they went with it, if anything at all. But yeah, that one had me scratching my head. But then you have, I'm always Charlotte is to me the number one women's wrestler there is, and I'm glad that she won her match. I did like the match, even though I usually don't like triple threats. I thought the Rollins Edge match was fantastic. I love the end. I definitely marked out at that Brood entrance, and I know you did too. Don't tell me you didn't.
They should have brought back Gangrel.
Yeah.
Honestly,
did you read that? Did you read his response to that? Did you read Gangrel's response? He was very positive, I believe. He was positive, but he said it also cost him he was going to do something with AEW, and they said, well, since he did that, it doesn't make sense, and he agreed with it, but he was a little bummed. But I love what they're doing with Edge. I really enjoy it. Like, I loved how they had him start off that way and then into the Rated R Superstar thing, and it was a great match. Rollins did great. Edge did great. The Cena.
Let me comment real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
The women's triple threat.
Okay.
I like the match, but boy, they're not doing Nikki Cross any favors with this bullshit Nikki Ash gimmick superhero. So effing stupid. You're not the Hurricane, And again, it's cute and the kids like it, but I can't take her seriously with that kind of gimmick. Let it rip. And I'm not saying you can't do something comedic, but like Marie she never watches wrestling. She was like, that's what they're bringing this girl out in like a superhero. And I'm like, yeah. So the Nikki Ash thing did not resonate with me. Edge and Rollins, I enjoyed.
Who's the fat? Give me
some others.
Who's the fat girl? I like her.
Dowdrop?
I don't know. Oh yeah, I love her.
All right, go ahead, please.
She's awesome.
Next. Go ahead.
Let's see. I hated what they did with the Miz. The drip whatever thing. That was really, I don't get that one. At least do it on a Raw. Why are they doing that on a pay-per-view? And Miz has to be in the ring. He's still got it. He could still go. What the hell are they doing? It doesn't make sense. Do you agree?
Well, they turned him the next night on Raw. He went out with Morrison, and they did. I think Morrison cost him a match, and then they shook, and they were doing the drip thing in the ring, and the Miz turned around and just fucking waylaid him.
Ooh, all right, I like that. See, I gotta catch up. I gotta catch up. I like that. What else did I like? The Cena Reigns match was a good match. I enjoyed it. Reigns was good.
Can I give you my?
Yeah, please.
Agreed, and it just reaffirmed. And again, John Cena's the GOAT. He's our generation. I won't call him Hogan. I'll call him Big Match John. It just feels a little bit more special when he wrestles, and I think he did it as a battle of attrition. He just he held his ground. He's kept that same sort of goofy All-American, but it works at this stage of his career. And I read some criticisms. He doesn't work like he used to. I mean, the guy's 42, obviously, but I thought they gave a very credible match and enough kickouts. But when he gave the spear and closed it out, it felt like the right time to end the match.
Yeah,
and I was very pleased. Yeah, I enjoyed that match.
Yeah, and I agree that. And did you think as highly of the Edge Rollins match as I did?
I did enjoy the match. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So it was a good card. It was a good show.
Dare I ask you about Goldberg and Lashley?
Yeah, I don't dislike the angle with his son. I normally should, because I normally don't like those. But I kind of like the idea of how Lashley put his son to sleep. That adds something to it. I don't get why they had to do the thing with the leg. They could.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't. They could have They could have had Goldberg lose by being distracted by what happened to his son, and have him, get a pinfall that way, and then still set up a rematch, which is obviously going to be for Crown Jewel. So, look, Goldberg to me is always somebody worth watching.
Is he worth watching in the ring? Because, Andy, I was disappointed. I thought the Drew McIntyre match was a good, solid 5-minute match. He did not look good in the ring again.
Yeah, it's never going to be. It's never going to be a good match. But for some reason, I agree with you. It's never going to be a good match. But he's still Goldberg. He brings a level of, of must-see TV to him. I think you don't agree.
And I do agree, because I'll bitch and moan, and then when that Goldberg music hits and that entrance, I'm glued to my television. And he actually looked really good. He looked even more chiseled this time around. For 54 freaking years old, the guy is a machine. But Andy, the spears don't look clean anymore.
Right.
He can't quite jackhammer the guys like he used to. I just feel like it's just, even the Undertaker said at some point, gotta go. I don't know why. They got him on this 4 matches a year contract, and I'm sure they'll use him again, and I'll be hopeful for a good match. I like the McIntyre match a lot more. It almost looked like the whole leg thing. He sold it very well, because I thought he may have really legitimately hurt himself.
I thought so too.
Again. He was kind of limping around. And funny note, I did read on one of the rag sheets that his son, obviously Lashley came in and trounced him, and apparently his son wasn't selling in the ring, and Goldberg grabbed him real hard and gave him a little choke of his own, because the kid was like, "Dad, you grabbed me so hard." He's like, "We're in the fucking ring. You just got choked out by Bobby Lashley. You can't have a smile on your face." Something like that.
That is funny.
You slapped this kid around in the ring to make it look, be like, "Dude, you gotta sell." So I just I am a fan of Goldberg, and I am I am protective of all these guys' legacies, and it does upset me. Look, I can go to sleep at night, but it upsets me. Crown Jewel with DX and Undertaker and Kane. Kane's mask falls off, and his guts hanging out.
That was a dumpster
Shawn Michaels, Triple H's quad rips for the 80th time. It upsets me. It upsets me when these guys go out there past their expiration date.
Yeah.
That's why I liked the Goldberg Drew McIntyre match, because I thought it was 5 minutes, and it was a good enough showing where I could be like, hang it up from here. But I agree with you. He's definitely has a presence and must-see TV, but when he gets in the ring, it's oy vey time.
Yeah. Well, I am positive about the product going forward. I like where it's headed, and I'm more interested in it right now than I have been in a while. So much so that I have booked our trip to WrestleMania already. Record timing. We are set for Dallas, Texas, my friend. We are set.
Yeah, well, thank you, Florida stimulus money.
Yeah, no shit, right?
I'll probably book that. I'll probably book that shortly. I was keeping an eye on the fair.
But I am excited about the product right now. I'm actually looking forward to watching this week's Raw and SmackDowns today.
Did you see real quick before we wrap it up? Did you see the 24 from the last WrestleMania?
Night one, yes,
night two?
Great. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, they were good.
Really good.
Really,
and I'm
really
hoping
good.
we get that Lex Luger Icons thing at some point. I don't know what's going on with that. They're being very strangely silent about that. Even Lex Luger himself is not saying anything on Twitter or anything.
And be on the lookout. The next Stone Cold apparently is going to be John Cena, and I'll be really looking forward to that interview.
That will be a very good one.
All right, crew, that wraps up our end of summer spectacular. Thoughts on the show? It was good to get back.
Yes,
here
I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed talking with you again. It's been a while. What's going on next week for us?
Glad you asked, Andy. Great transition. Next show, really quiet places. Moody and Groo will take a look at A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place 2. We'll take a look at the movie's lore, the entire Quiet Place universe and franchise. Give you our thoughts and review the two films, and perhaps where the franchise might go from here next week on Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Groo. Really quiet places.
I'm looking forward to that. I watched both movies over the summer, and lots to discuss there. So I'm looking forward to that. Good stuff.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. And all right, that's a wrap, Andy.
Yes.
You want to take us out?
Yes, Evan, it's been a pleasure being back here with you, as always, on Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Groo, brought to you by New You Life Center in Phoenix, Arizona. As always, we are here for you. Anything you have to tell us. Most of you who are listening have our phone numbers, so text us. But we'll be back next week with Quieter Places. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, and any other genders or things or species that are listening to this nonsense, 1, 2, 3.
Gender fluid.
Quack, quack.